Hey friends, it's Allison here, jumping in real quick before you get into all the juicy details of today's episode. Did you know there is just one more week left to our 200th episode giveaway where you have the chance to win a full ride scholarship to the Better Belly Blueprint? This is the way to heal your gut so that you can poop daily, ditch acid reflux, and balance your hormones even when nothing else has worked. Here's how you can enter. Leave a rating and review on the Better Belly podcast on Apple Podcast or Spotify between now and May 29th. Take a screenshot of that rating and review, then go to betterbellytherapies.com/giveaway and fill out our 200th episode giveaway form. You will automatically receive an email with a code for $200 off the Better Belly Blueprint, which you're going to get as soon as you send in that form. And then a full scholarship winner is going to be announced on May 30th and messaged by email. If you win, you're going to win a full scholarship to the Better Belly Blueprint. And if you don't win, you can still get $200 off, which is 20% off of the Better Belly Blueprint if you join by May 31st at midnight. So go ahead and leave a rating and review. Get that giveaway form filled out at betterbellytherapies.com/giveaway, and you can finally end your constipation, acid reflux, and PMS for good. Do you feel stuck in your gut health, unsure of what solutions to pursue that will actually work? Are you afraid of picking the wrong thing and then getting no results? Are you tired of spending time and money on gut health healing solutions that haven't worked? And are you maybe even wondering if you can even get better? Should you try it all? Hey friend, I get you. I was once in this place too. I was stuck in analysis paralysis, pages and pages of Dr. Google, and feeling completely out of my depth to figure out why I couldn't heal my constipation. On today's episode, I'm talking with you about two mindsets I consistently see in women who are conquering their gut health. And this is not because their gut health is easy to solve. I'll be also giving you 2 journal prompts, so pull out some paper or save this episode to listen to later so you can use these powerful journaling prompts to help change your mindset. After working with over 100 women and seeing them go from stuck to feeling good, let me say, there is healing out there for you. So let's not let your mindset be the one thing keeping you from it. Hey friend, welcome to the Better Belly podcast. Do you want freedom from bloating and constipation? Do you find yourself up late at night Googling natural constipation remedies, causes for bloating, or recipes and exercises to help constipation? Are you frustrated with the mind game of trying to figure out what foods are helping or hurting your gut? Hey, I'm Allison, mom, wife, and functional gut health practitioner. At a young age, bloating and constipation were my constants. I didn't know what to do and wished I could just live a normal life focusing on my passions, my job, and my family. I was tired of abdominal pain that woke me up at night and wasting time and money on gut health remedies that just didn't work. Breakthrough moment, the functional medicine and osteopathic approach to gut health. In this podcast, you will find natural remedies for bloating and constipation, practical, doable belly exercises and massages, and debunk the myths about what really is causing your tummy problems. So toss out those laxatives and say goodbye to that embarrassing gas. Your gut health is calling. And just as a reminder, this information is not meant to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your own health practitioner before you make any changes to your health. All right, guys, before we jump into the content for this week, I just want to read this new review on Apple Podcasts. The podcast review is so helpful. I have lots of gut issues, and this podcast has been a godsend for me. Thank you for your wisdom. And that is from Jen. Jen, thanks so much for leaving a review. It's been so helpful to hear this has been helpful for you. And if you've been listening to this podcast for a while and haven't left a review yet, I just want to invite you. Come leave a review today. Pause this episode right now. Go and click into the podcast episode. Go find the actual podcast. Scroll down to the bottom. You're going to see ratings and reviews. You can click a little purple purple link, and it's going to say leave a review, leave a 5-star review, a couple words, and just let me know, what are you loving from the podcast? What's been helpful? What would you like more content on? Because hey, I'm listening. I'm in your ear, and I would love to hear what you've been enjoying from this podcast. I would love to hear from you, an actual human being. And otherwise, I don't get to know what's stirring in your heart, what's been impactful, what do you want to hear more of? And I really, really do read these reviews, and I love them. It encourages me. And then it also helps other people like you to find this podcast. So it's super helpful and super impactful. And it's just another way to give back. If you feel like this podcast ever has given you anything and you want to give something in return, this would be a great way to just give a little something in return. So you can pause this podcast if you even have to, and go to the Apple iTunes podcast, scroll to the bottom, click the purple link, leave a rating and review, and I would love to read your review there. All right, but moving forward, so there are two mindsets that I often find people struggling with when it comes to getting better in your gut health, particularly when you haven't been getting better in your gut health, right? You're listening to this podcast because all the other things you have already tried haven't worked, right? Most people's first thing they are doing when they're trying to figure out their gut health is not listen to a podcast. So you've already read the blog post, you've already gone to the doctor, you've already talked to your acupuncturist or nutritionist, you've done a lot of the normal things, and now you are trying to find new information. So welcome. I want to give you some encouragement today. So if you have not already done so, pull out your journal or a note on your phone or your iPad, because I have 2 journal prompts for you today that I really want you to be able to sink into and answer for yourself, so that you can really settle into yourself in these mindset shifts, and honestly even learn a little bit something about yourself that can help give you strength moving forward. Mind shift number 1, going from I can't get better to I can get better. Now, a lot of people that I work with, I find that their main mindset problem with this is, I have tried so many things and maybe I just can't get better. And then what happens when you start to get in this place of I can't get better is you start to filter everything through that. So every possible solution you look at, you start to see in a very pessimistic or non-believing way. So you learn of something new and you're like, well, that worked for that person, but it won't work for me. And it really slows down your willingness to try new things. And it can start to crystallize as I don't want to try something new because it's going to fail me again. And so you become much more fragile or unwilling to move forward. So the key to this, and something that I found has been the most helpful thing for my clients in going from I can't get better to I can get better, is not just getting more and new information. That's what a lot of this podcast is all about, is talking to you about the science of why have you not gotten better? Why has the low FODMAP diet not worked for you? Why have probiotics not worked for you? Why is fiber in water and going gluten-free and taking supplements and meditating and all these things not worked for you? There's a lot of scientific reasons for that. Let's dig into those. But there's also a mindset piece. And this one is everything is hard until it's not. I want you to think about, has there ever been a time in your life where you thought you would never overcome something? Maybe it was something in middle school or high school, like a math class. Maybe it was learning how to ride your bike. Some people, that was just a really hard thing. Maybe it was learning a new language. I don't know what it is for you, but this is what I want you to journal. That piece of paper, that note on your phone, I want you to think about a childhood time when you thought there was something going on in your life that you would never overcome. Can you think of, maybe it wasn't even quite childhood, maybe college, if that's far enough back, that some exam, some class that you just remember thinking, I'm never going to get over this. I'm never going to learn this thing. I'm never going to conquer it. I'm never going to succeed it or pass it. I'm going to fail this thing. I remember some vocabulary words that were really hard. Maybe it was the trying to find your first job or a season of trying to find a job, and you just thought, the season's never going to end. I'm never going to get through it. I want you to think about that time. And now, as you look back, I want you to think about the fact that you look back and you're like, oh yeah, I guess I did learn how to bike or rollerblade, or I guess I did find that first job, or I guess I did learn how to spell that vocabulary word, or I did pass that math class. And it doesn't even impact your life nowadays. You look back and you're like, I guess that's not a big deal. Yeah, I know how to do that thing now. You actually don't even think about it that often. It's like you might even remember some of the emotions, but the further you get away from it, the less emotionally scarred you are from it, right? You look back and you're like, yeah, that was hard. You got your first job and now you've had more since, and now you know how to get jobs, and you don't worry about it anymore. That is what it's like for so many of my clients who start to work with me and they've gone through 6 months, 6 years, 20 years of having no improvement in their health or minimal, or having to work so hard just to feel sort of okay. And then they work with me, or they're considering working with me, and they don't know, like, can I get better? And eventually you just accept. If you can accept that it's going to be hard, there's going to be hard things you're going to have to press into, but there's going to be a point where eventually riding that bike is not going to be hard anymore, and you'll be able to do that. And that thing that looks so impossible, you'll look back and be like, oh, it was so possible. And that's what happens as my clients go through their lab testing, and then they get their lab results and they see what's actually going wrong in their body, and they see the plan that I've created for them and teach them how to walk through, and they start walking through and then seeing results, and then they're at the 3-month mark, and then they're at the 6-month mark, and then they're 6 months after working with me, and they still feel good. And it all starts to look like this hazy dream of, I guess there was that time when I was chronically constipated and bloated and my joints hurt and I couldn't sleep, but now it's not hard anymore. It's like I can actually do something and feel better. That's what this is like. Now, if you go back and you think about that time when you were riding your bike, trying to learn how to ride your bike, trying to learn that vocab word, it is not possible to completely promise that you won't fall off your bike in the attempt to try to learn it. It's not possible to promise you won't scrape your knee. But if you can accept those risks and accept and focus on the outcome, I really want to be able to ride my bike, and I know I might scrape my knee and I might fall and I might scare myself, but that will help lead me to learning how to do it so that I don't keep falling. You will learn how to ride your bike, and it's the same in your health. There might be some times where you try some things and you don't actually feel better. There might be some times you try some things and it's hard to implement initially, but then it gets easier and it gets more familiar and it gets more normal and you actually start to feel better. That is how you move from this ingrained mindset of I can't get better, or I don't think I can get better, to I can get better. It is walking through that trial period of learning something and failing a couple times and pressing in. It's the everything is hard until it's not. It's hard to poop and not be constipated until it's not, and then suddenly magically goes away. So that's mindset shift number 1. Mindset shift number 2 is to focus on your goal, not your impossibilities. What you focus on. So the root of this is you're like, well, that makes sense, Dawson. I want to be able to poop regularly. I want to not be bloated all the time. But I feel like all I see is the fact that I am constipated and I'm bloated all the time. That sounds stupid. So if you think these mindset shifts sound stupid, that's fine. That's normal. That's actually a sign that you need the mindset shift. Not in the sense that you're just going to magically transport yourself, but listen to, walk with me through the process here. So that's the mindset shift, but how do you get there? So, and why? Why is this important? Number 1, what you focus on is what will seem most real. So I want you to imagine this. You want to cook 2 eggs to eat, but you open the fridge and there are no eggs. This is how our brains work, right? You want to cook 2 eggs to eat, but you open the fridge, there are no eggs. And your brain is going to start to think, what? I have no eggs. How will I eat eggs today? And maybe your brain starts freaking out. Oh my goodness, I can't eat eggs. I'm going to go and get mad at my roommate. Maybe she ate my eggs. Or I'm going to go and get down on myself for getting behind on my groceries again and I have no eggs. And I'm just going to grab an Oreo instead and eat it. Or maybe I'm going to eat nothing at all and your brain starts freaking out. That's reaction number 1. That is an emotional reaction that you might actually feel initially. But what this reaction does not do is help solve the problem of your eggs. That suddenly makes the experience of having no eggs the most real thing. It is like this concrete, unchangeable reality. I have no eggs. But here's reaction number 2, and this is how it's different, right? So that's focusing on your impossibilities. You open up the fridge, there's no eggs, you freak out, and then nothing happens. You just kind of stay in that reality of I have no eggs. And in truth, you have no eggs in the fridge. But here's reaction number 2, when you focus on a goal instead of the impossibility. You open up the fridge, you see there's no eggs. You say, there are no eggs. I really want eggs. And you change your question. You change the focus. Instead of saying, I don't have eggs, I can't eat eggs, you say, what could I do to get eggs? How could I solve this problem? And now you start brainstorming. You visualize your closest store. Maybe you think it's too far. Maybe you have no car. So you're thinking, how long would it take to get me to that store by bus? That seems too long. I'm pretty hungry. Then you keep thinking and suddenly you realize, well, I guess I have neighbors. Maybe I have a neighbor who has some eggs. Oh, I know one of my neighbors tends to be home around this time. So you go and knock on your door and you talk to your neighbor, you ask them if they have some eggs, you offer maybe to give them some eggs in return the next time you buy some. And suddenly you have eggs in your fridge because you did a little brainstorming, you did a little bit of thinking, maybe the first idea you had wasn't going to work. Maybe that first idea of going to the grocery store is like, it isn't going to work right now. But you kept brainstorming and said, well, how else might I get some eggs? You thought of your neighbor and voila, eggs. So where you went from I can't, you suddenly shift to how can I? When you do that, you open up the creative right brain solution making part of your brain instead of just shutting it down. And I can't do this. And your brain just shuts down and stops thinking of solutions. Turn on that creative solution making part of your brain. And you suddenly are going to be in this stage of I can actually see my goal and start to think about what could I possibly do to get there instead of feeling that I can't do it. There's nothing else. There's no other option for me. So the journaling part of this step 2 mindset shift is I want you to, before you journal, close your eyes and I want you to think and imagine or visualize whatever you see, hear, think of first. Answer this question. What do you want most in your life right now in terms of your health? What do you think the most about? Are you thinking about, what are you thinking the most about? Just answer that. What hurts you the most to not have? These are the things that are going to be your goals. What do you want the most? What do you think about the most? What hurts you the most to not have? All right, whatever you thought of, whatever you saw, whatever the answer is, write that down. And now I want you to ask, how could I do that? So maybe it's, how could I afford that? How could I make time for that? How could I choose a better health practitioner next time? How could I pay for that lab test that I would like to do? And we want to switch you from, maybe you have some real, when you open up that fridge and there's no eggs, we're not lying. There are no eggs in the fridge. If you are evaluating your situation and you're saying, I don't have a lot of extra cash to pay for something of working with a practitioner or buying a functional lab test or buying a supplement protocol, great. Let's be realistic about that. We don't have to lie to ourselves. But I do want you to think about, how could I? Could you get a side hustle? Could you change your budget so you can reduce cost in one area so that you could put money into another area? Could you invite somebody to support you in this pursuit of your health. Maybe it's a friend or a family member. What could you do? Like, there's so many different options of how you could approach this solution. Do you have a raise coming up? Could you use a tax return for these things? How could you make time for working with a health practitioner or going to an appointment or doing some type of health change in your life, even with kids? Even if time is a problem for you, how could you do that? If this is really hard for you to imagine how to do these things, how to make these mind shifts, how to imagine a new solution for your constipation and bloating or other gut health problems, I would love to be a part of your new solution. I would love to partner with you and help you find those creative new solutions that you have never found before. That's pretty much why I'm here. That's why I have this podcast. That's why I work with clients one-to-one in my foundations program for 6 months, doing lab testing and giving you protocols that you've never done before, never come across, that are not a part of conventional healthcare system and doctors and normal things on blog posts. So if you are ready for just new solutions and new ways of working with your health and getting better results than you ever have before, I would love to work with you. Just go to betterbellytherapies.com/waitlist. That is the waitlist that I have for my foundations program, where I work with you one-to-one for 6 months, doing 4 functional lab tests and creating a customized health plan for you that you've never done before, you've never seen before. It is not your run-of-the-mill normal recommendations. It is personalized, tailored for you and your body, for whatever it is that's causing your ongoing gut health problems, among many other problems as well. Sleep, skin, sinus, it's all connected. So if you are ready to get to the root cause of your chronic bloating, constipation, and more, just go to betterbellytherapies.com/waitlist and get on the waitlist there. If you also want other support in the meantime, you can join me in my free Facebook group, going to betterbellytherapies.com/Facebook or clicking the link in the show notes. And you can download my free constipation relief guide, 3 natural remedies for constipation, by going to betterbellytherapies.com/constipation. You can also click links for all these things in the show notes. I'm here to support you. I believe in you, and I cannot wait for you to get your constipation, bloating, and gut health healing so that you can look back on this and say, wow, that used to be so hard, but now it is so easy. Hey guys, I hope that those 2 journal prompts are super helpful to you and just give you hope for the future. It's okay to feel stuck. You can open up your fridge and feel like there are no eggs in it. There might genuinely be no eggs in it, but that does not mean that there are no eggs anywhere in the world for you to get your egg fix. And in this case, to get healing from your chronic constipation and bloating. So again, if you are ready for more support, there are so many ways to jump in. You can join us in our Facebook group at betterbellytherapies.com/Facebook. You can come and follow me on Instagram at betterbellytherapies. You can join the Foundations Program waitlist if you are ready to work with me one-to-one and find the root cause of your gut health problems. By going to betterbellytherapies.com/waitlist, you can download my free constipation relief guide at betterbellytherapies.com/constipation. There's so many ways to get help and support and find freedom in your health. And if you are new to this podcast, I just want to say welcome. I'm so glad you're here. If you love this episode, we have so much more coming down the line, and honestly, a ton in our history of our podcast episodes. So just scroll through, find the podcast episodes that mean the most to you, and I hope that they bless you and give you lots and lots of insight. I'm so glad you joined us today, and I cannot wait to see you here next week. Catch you guys next week.